Yes, we have a video by Gordon Dimmack, a UK independent journalist who was basically sent a letter from Julian Assange in response to a letter that Gordon wrote to him as he's been in Belmarsh prison in the UK, which, you know, as most of our listeners remember, has been called the UK's Guantanamo Bay. Gordon published the letter this morning. It's been republished by the Canary, and I'd like to screen share that entire PDF with you all. And when we do close the vigil, we'll be closing with a restream of Gordon's really significant video. So yes, I don't know if we want to close half hour and restream that now. It's not all that long.
Well, let me ask you, Elizabeth, do you have we have an edited version where he's just reading the letter. Do you have that, or do you have the entire video?
I believe I have the entire video.
Well, we want to. I think we should just show the edited one. I could do that because we just want to focus on what he says. He reads out the letter. He reads out the letter that Assange wrote back to him. WikiLeaks has retweeted this, so that's confirmation that this letter actually was sent to this independent journalist. And I'm going to try to get it up on my screen so we can discuss it as well.
Yeah, we can also, we do have the actual PDF of the letter, like in Assange's handwriting, that we can also share screen. Yes, we can show that. Let me just get the link very quickly.
You read the letter? Maybe that, maybe that would be better. Why don't you put the PDF in? You could read it, Elizabeth, if you don't mind.
Okay, perfect. I will do that. One moment, I just have to share screen. So we have, obviously, Julian Assange's address at Belmarsh. He says, "Thank you, Gordon. You're a good man. I have been isolated from all ability to prepare to defend myself. No laptop, no internet, ever. No computer, no library so far. But even if I get access, it will just be for a half an hour with everyone else once a week, just 2 visits a month. And it takes weeks to get someone on the call list. And a catch-22 in getting their details to be secretly screened. Then all calls except except lawyers, excuse me, are recorded. All calls are max 10 minutes and in a limited 30-minute window in which all prisoners compete for the phone and credit. Just a few pounds a week, and no one can call in the other side. A superpower that has been preparing for 9 years with hundreds of people and untold millions spent on the case. I am defenseless and am counting on you and others of good character to save my life. I am unbroken, albeit literally surrounded by murderers, but the days where I could read and speak and organize to defend myself, my ideals, and my people are over until I am free! ! Everyone else must take my place. The U.S. government, no other, I can't read that statement, but the U.S. government, there's regrettable elements in it that hate truth, liberty, and justice, want to cheat their way into my extradition and death rather than letting the public hear the truth, for which I have won the highest awards in journalism and have been nominated 7 times, I believe, for the Nobel Peace Prize. Truth, ultimately, is all we have. JPA. So, George, Joe, what reactions do you have to this?
Well, it's a very powerful letter. I mean, it's so moving and powerful. It's sad. I mean, when he says, my days of organizing are over until I'm free. I mean, that's a very dark perspective. So, but it's a very moving document.
Absolutely.
I think it's extraordinary to have this insight to what's going on in his mind, because we've heard nothing. It's for years now, basically, certainly since March of last year when they shut his access off. We don't know what he's thinking, what he's feeling. These are the kind of things we imagine he might be thinking and feeling, but to have him actually write these words and for us to see them is a great insight into what he's going through. And when he says that people have to take his place, well, hopefully he's thinking of us here on the vigil, because that's what we've been trying to do since this started, to defend him as a journalist. This gives us an insight into him as a man as well. who is suffering unnecessarily for having practiced the profession that I've been a part of for a long time. So that's why I identify with this. And I think now we have all kinds of journalists coming out of the woodwork to identify with him, even if they don't like him. So this is a great letter that we've seen here. But it is depressing, as George says, because he can't speak to his lawyers except twice a month. They record all of his other calls except those calls with his lawyers. You know that they read this letter before it was sent out. So they approved this. He was very careful in what he said. Even though I criticized the U.S. government, he didn't criticize the British government. So maybe he did that on purpose so they wouldn't stop this letter from getting out. But I hope we see more letters like that. I think we could probably share. We could also share that address on the YouTube chat so that other people could write to him. I think that would be, he can't obviously respond to everybody, but that he responded to one person is encouraging, so that he might be able to write to others and keep us abreast of what he's feeling there. And you can imagine what a man is doing all alone. He has no access to a library. In other words, he hasn't got books. He hasn't got newspapers. He has no music. How could he occupy himself?
Well, that's one reason there is a campaign to encourage people to write to Julian Assange with very short personal notes, but then to include actions that you've taken. So if you've written a letter to the editor, if you've written to someone like the UK Home Secretary, attach a copy of that to the letter. And Assange can, if you're in the UK, you can send extra paper that he can write back with. You can, especially, and you need to send postage. But I'd like to make the additional statement that Assange, we can't really, from the US or from an international setting, send Assange the postage for international return mail. So if you're in the UK, you can do that. And as you know, Gordon Dimmack received that letter because he's in the UK partially. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you're in the UK and if you can send him extra postage, that might help. I'm not sure all of the details on how that works, but this is the exact address you would want to use to write to Assange. You need to include the date of birth, which is on the screen now as I'm sharing it. And this is I'm screen sharing right now from writejulian.com. So if you ever forget, if you need to find this later, it's writejulian.com, and it explains all of the details about how you should send it and all of that. So
yeah, and that birthday would be July 3rd, 1971. Right. But anybody could write to him from anywhere in the world. They just, as you're saying, they can't expect a response because we can't give the self-addressed envelope with the stamps on it.
Yes, we can't obtain the UK mail, international mail from the UK. They won't ship international stamps, etc., to people, let's say, in the US. So that's the limitation.
That's great to keep that address up there so people could write him, and that's how he could occupy his time.
Right.
If they read all the letters, they're probably going to read every letter that comes in too before they show it to him.
Definitely.
But that can occupy his time when he's reading fan mail, basically, which has to lift his spirits. And he'll know that people are out there defending him.